This is Marco Reus.
This is Shinji Kagawa.
This is Nuri Sahin.
Hello, this is Jadon Sancho.
And you're listening to the Yellow Wall podcast.
Hello and welcome to episode 349 of the Yellowwallpod. I'm your host Stefan Butzko, and today we will talk about Dortmund securing first place in Group F of the Champions League, the potential opponents in the round of 16, and why Lucien Favre dubbed VfB Stuttgart's attacking schemes as, quote, extremely dangerous. For all that and more joins me the one and only Konstantin Eckner. Hello Konstantin, it is a pleasure to have you on for this show. How are you doing?
It's been a pleasure to be back on the Yellowwallpod. What's up, Stefan?
Not much. What have you been up to?
Well, kind of a lot of things, stuff, doing my journalism thing, I believe. No, seriously, like a lot of interviews recently done for a number of outlets. Launched a new podcast with Abel Mezarosh. You can check that out, the Football Pod, on SoundCloud, Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast, still on YouTube for the German listeners. Yeah, so a lot of stuff, as you can imagine.
Yeah, that's great. Please check that podcast out. I will too when I get the chance.
When you get the chance, yes. You don't have to pay for it,
Moving on. So Borussia Dortmund won 2-1 in St. Petersburg. It was, let's say, industrious win. Any big takeaways other than 2.7 million of extra prize money and first spot in Group F, Mr. Eckner?
Thank you, Mr. Butchko. No, I mean, like the match told the story we have seen in Dortmund matches quite frequently, especially in the Champions League. I believe it's meaning that, like, especially there's a certain inconsistency when it comes to closing down spaces, shutting down passing lanes, stuff like that. There's like not the basic defensive stuff, but stuff that should work for a top level team, for what I thought would be a potential semi-final contender or something like that. I'm not sure about it anymore, but Dortmund, there's just some inconsistency in terms of their defensive structure, and I don't know how things work more or less, and they often don't work organically, and so that's why once again, I know how many times in a row at this time, but once again they were trailing. Came back this time, all right. It's a great win on the other end. Like, I think I would have enjoyed it more if they had a Bundesliga match like that where they came back from behind and won. Winning against Zenit, it's nice. Yeah, won the group. Of course, that's important. So you might get an easier opponent in the round of 16, but even you're not really sure if that's really what's going to happen, because there are some weird results, in some groups at least. So, but yeah, more or less, just the same thing again as in many other Champions League matches this year.
Yeah, before we talk about potential opponents, obviously, quickly, we have to mention at least that Yusufa Moukoko now is also the youngest debutant in Champions League history with 16 years and 18 days. That was somehow expected, I think, but I expected a little bit more, if that makes sense, had Dortmund already sealed the deal against Lazio in the previous week. But you can see that Lucien Favre right now trusts the youngster to play a couple of minutes. And on the other hand, I think that's also down to the fact that Dortmund don't really have that many players left to sub in at this point. But at least this time, Lucien Favre did make full use of his bench and made 5 substitutions. Ansgar Knauf also made his professional debut for Dortmund. Konstantin, what can you say about Ansgar Knauf for people who do not know him very well, since he literally just emerged And I think a couple days or weeks ago, not that long ago, signed his professional contract with the Black and Yellows.
Yeah, but first of all, I mean, I also had, like, we are recording this on Thursday, to pull back a little bit the curtain here. And I, but only a little bit, like only a sneak peek. But I had another.
No, I want to keep the mystery alive that we're in a timeless void here.
Yeah, we are recording this in a black hole. It's also called Stefan's basement. But no, seriously,
we're also recording it in your attic or basement or wherever you're sitting.
Oh, it's my ravishly, designed apartment here in Berlin, of course. But coming back, I just wanted to mention that I had a large profile piece about Moukoko times, which I wrote. What was it, 3 weeks ago? Because expected that he would become the youngest Champions League player. I had to postpone that a little bit and had to wait for finally him making his debut in the Champions League. At some point I thought like maybe he becomes at one point the oldest Champions League player to have a debut, because it took him a while. But yeah, it was great to see him on the pitch. Although, I mean, he had like one chance where he was really close to scoring, so he would have also been the youngest goal scorer in UCL history. But that's something you can still achieve, of course. Now about Ansgar Knauf, who I coined the best Ansgar since Brinkmann. Ansgar Brinkmann, Bielefeld legend.
Well, how many Ansgars are out there? What's the competition?
There's like a huge competition among middle-aged German men living in, North Rhine-Westphalia or something like that. I believe that wholeheartedly. I think there are a lot of Ansgars out there, but they have been retired, for a while actually. But what I like about Ansgar Knauf is the following. He played for SFG Göttingen in 2015 when I was studying in Göttingen. So obviously he's one of the best players in the world, just by connection. The city connection is there. The closer
you live to Konstantin, the better you get, which is why Union Berlin and Hertha are just beating everyone at this moment.
No, I mean that's why Union are so strong. I visited their stadium shortly before they became the force they are now. Basically, it's, the best team beyond the big guys. But Knauf, he came to Dortmund in 2016. He wasn't like the guy. There was not a lot of rave about him for a while. But I don't know, someone who's really technically sound. So that's something I think that works in his favor. I don't know if he will be a breakthrough star, because, as I said, like there's, how should I phrase it? Like he's not like exceptional in any department, in my opinion. He's very fast, so that's something that works in his favor because he's usually playing as an attacking winger. He could also play as a fullback or as a wingback. So. I mean, quickness, yes, he has that going for him. But I mean, there are other players, same thing. Like especially today, there are so many quick players on the outside. So, but I think like what Favre likes about him, he's very reliable. That's also something what stood out when you watched him playing for Dortmund's youth setup, is that he was really reliable and much more reliable than maybe other guys at his age. So I think that's also something that helps him. As I said, like nothing like too exceptional. He's not like from the same mold as like the Gio Reynas and Erling Haalands and of course Youssoufa Moukokos. Although Moukoko, in a way, he's like very good in many departments, but maybe not exceptional in any. So I'm intrigued to see what will happen with Knauf. I think he might be relegated back to the reserve team, to the second team, once there are some guys coming back from injury, because I don't think there's any. It doesn't make sense to just keep him on the bench for a lot of matches. So I'm not sure, because I mean, as you guys have discussed in previous episodes, which I've all listened to, of course,
sure.
Dortmund have a lot of injuries right now, especially on the wings. There guys missing right now, or even on the back line. So I mean, it's good to have him because he's reliable and has like the fundamentals of a good to very good Bundesliga player. So there you go.
Yeah, that's all I need to hear. I mean, you can't obviously mount too much expectations on him right now anyway, since he's only 18 years old and literally just signed.
Which is funny, right? He's only 18 years old, or he's already 18 years old, given what's going on at Dortmund, right?
I know, but I still think 18 is young. Even if there are a lot of younger players.
I mean, you just had your birthday, so what can you say?
Yeah. I mean, Bellingham is 17, and the way he plays is beyond his years. So if you just look at him, you could think that 18 might be a very old age if you were an alien coming out of space, and that was your only point of reference, obviously. No. I don't think there's too much to say about this game, because I actually found it quite boring. I mean, yes, the goal by Lukas Piszczek was obviously nice, a nice Abstauber, and Axel Witsel scoring against his former club and inflicting the curse of the X once from the Dortmund point of view instead of the other way around. It was very nice. I actually didn't saw the ball going in. Because it was squeezed past the post so tightly that I thought he hit the side netting. But no, it was a goal, and it was rather well taken. I don't know if Dortmund have scored yet from out of the box in the Bundesliga, but in the Champions League they must have with the Jadon Sancho free kick. And now this is actually very uncommon, I feel like, for Dortmund to take a shot from outside the box, but maybe describes a little bit how Dortmund failed to penetrate the Zenit box on a regular basis, other than with set pieces, and sort of describes a little bit that troubles how they failed to create chances on a greater scale, let's say. But yeah, it was a nice shot. It was kind of weird because the ball he received at the edge of the box wasn't really that perfectly aimed at him, and he struggled to control it, but no one attacked him, and then he just set himself up and took the shot, and yeah, it goes in. That's just very weird, and I don't really understand why Zenit's players were so passive. Maybe they just didn't expect it. But
yeah, I mean, they were like more like, all right, try, come on, try it. They were like, come on, try it, shoot it to the roof,
Yeah, like he did in Frankfurt. So yeah, maybe
like he usually does.
Yeah,
they know him, and they watched some tape, and they were like, all right, let's just shoot him. Then we have free ball.
Yeah, but this one fluke, it went in. So yeah. Other than that, notable, I guess, is that Hummels had to be subbed off and might be injured for the game against Stuttgart. And yeah, but we can talk about that in a minute now. Obviously, for the round of 16, there are of course a couple of sides that Dortmund can draw, but not too many, as a lot of other German sides qualified.
Or all of them.
That means that Dortmund can only meet 5 other teams, which are Atletico, Porto, Atalanta, Sevilla, and Barcelona. So a lot of Spanish sides, 1 Italian and 1 Portuguese. Who do you want Dortmund to pick, and who do you think Dortmund should avoid if they want to go through?
They should definitely avoid Atletico. Surprise, I know. I mean, there's like I have like 2 opinions on this one, which I know. Yeah, and so they should avoid Atletico, of course. I think Atalanta can be tricky. It's not a high profile. I know Atalanta is like beloved by people, but it's still like not a high profile match, and you could get out, or you could lose there and be knocked out. So
could
I don't know.
Become a shootout, I think.
That's also, yeah. I mean, which would be entertaining at least, but it's still, it's like one of these matches, like when you are in the cup, for instance, the national cup, you're a second division side and you draw the 15th of the first division. It's not a high profile match, but you lose, so something like that. So I don't know if that would be something. I mean, of course, you can, Porto or something. But I think also what would be interesting for Dortmund is to play Barcelona.
Care to explain?
I think Dortmund, they can beat Barcelona, I know Barcelona, they are in shambles. It's horrible. We know the story. Still, it would be a big win for Dortmund to beat them. So, in terms of reputation, so I like that match in a way because now they are beatable. Why not Dortmund being the team that beats them? And also, like, what if they lose against Lionel Messi and like Lionel Messi had like one of these days and he scores like 2 or 3 goals? Then it's not that bad. Then he's like, all right, best player ever, or maybe second best player ever. So, yeah. I guess that there would be something because before the season I was on a little expert panel from the BBC and they asked me like what could the German teams achieve, I was like, Dortmund, or no, I was asked who could be the dark horses of this Champions League season, and I was like, maybe Dortmund, because Dortmund, they are able to beat every team on a good day. Unfortunately, they don't have many good days right now. So, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if Dortmund are still the dark horses. So I don't think that they will be anywhere close to the final. So I think like it would be much more fun to have like a high profile match or something and win them. A problem with Atletico is like you lose against Atletico, and you got also like 5 players on the injured list afterwards. So I don't know.
Well, 5 additional players, yes.
5 additional, of course. Additional to the already 15 players we have there. So basically, then Ansgar now will be the captain.
I asked other listeners as well. People want Dortmund to play against Porto. I think this is widely regarded as the easiest draw. I personally just want to avoid Sevilla because I've got very bad memories from this one Europa League tie in which Marcel Schmelzer got sent off, etc. So that was an epic shithousing of Sevilla, and I don't need to live through that again ever. So please just spare me, dear God. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So Dortmund sort of limped on one leg into the round of 16. I don't think their group stage performance overall, if you want to assess it, was too glorious. I mean, they lost to Lazio away and then drew. And yeah, Bruges was not really an opponent that Dortmund had to take too seriously. I mean, away, Bruges was a little bit tricky here and there, but overall, I think it was the team from pot 4 and it looked that way. And then what can you say about the Russian champions? That was a bit embarrassing, almost a bit pathetic. I thought they would be a bit more competitive, but clearly they are not, and hence they are not even going to go to the Europa League. So there's that. I'm glad to leave this behind us and then maybe have a interesting run of 16 and maybe even make the quarterfinals, which is at current form the furthest I can imagine or envision Dortmund to go. So there's that. Now, back to the Bundesliga, where Dortmund right now need to keep pace with the Leverkusens, Leipzigs and Bayerns of the world, as they have fallen down to 4th place. Before we talk about the game against Stuttgart, Konstantin, what, in your opinions, are the reasons for Dortmund's recent plummet and drop of points, form, etc.?
Well, I mean, they just don't know how to get any pace into their attacks, especially the first build-up phase. That's like kind of the main weakness, the main weak spot, especially because the structural issues they have, like with the back three, the defenders are too close to each other. But they are still they're still vulnerable to pressing. So they basically you have an additional defender, but you're still not able to beat a high press, even if you outnumber the high press. So that's kind of the main issue in my opinion. Then you get a couple of positional issues on the wings. I mean, even with Meunier out, I think like the other guys try to copy Meunier. Because Meunier, what he does or he did in the matches he played, he's advancing too early. Then he has to track back again. Now then when he receives the ball, bad first touch. Also usually only able to play a backwards pass.
Is too deep after tracking back.
Yeah, of course. I mean that like he overcompensates in a way, because he's also like he's one of these guys who is a bit all over the place with his running. It's also not as precise sometimes or often. So there's something, but even the other running backs, I mean, like Nico Schulz, like is famous for what I call a 50-50 touch, which is either it's pretty good or it's really, really bad. And often enough, like he has like one of these bad touches and like barely gets the ball to the next guy without turning over the ball. Because of course he knows that like that would be a disaster. So he's not really reliable and build up. There's no Guerrero, which you need, especially when you play a back three, because then you need like one of the wing backs being more engaged in like, or being actually acting like an additional center midfielder to compensate a bit for the lack of an third center midfielder. So also that's something that hurts them. So they get no pace into their attacks. And what's then going on is like something. It's not like that it's a Dortmund specialty. But it's still something that we have witnessed a lot over the course of the past 2, 3, 4 years maybe. It's like then when they have like these very slow and even plodding performances and slow spells of possession, then they tend to make mistakes, to make these unforced errors almost, to be caught on the wrong foot at times after or when turning over the ball. Then they don't have too many people behind the ball, because what you have to do often enough is if you advance, if you basically gain space and advance through the field or up down the field, what you usually do is like the moment you maybe gain 10 yards or something, a very good team like basically has still the kind of structure behind the ball, so that if you lose it, you still have enough people or enough people close to the ball to counter press. So like very good teams do that. Basically that's like what German coaches call like Ballbesitz absichern, like securing a possession. Not securing possession in terms of like having a good first touch, but more like, all right, we secure our position in that moment, and we secure also our field position in case we lose the ball. And that's also something Dortmund, if they don't have any success, offensively, if they don't get any breakthroughs, then they kind of, they are over eager at some point, and then they make also these additional mistakes and invite opponents to counter. And there are a couple of Bundesliga teams who are really good, or at least decent at countering, and Dortmund gives them 4, 5, 6 opportunities over the course of like 60 minutes or so to counter, and often enough they score from one or two of these situations. Of course, in addition to that, I mean, you saw it against Cologne, like set piece defending is also a problem, and an additional one, and also like a concerning one, because you should be better at set piece defending. But I think the Frankfurt match was more about the fundamental and structural issues Dortmund have. So I think that's even more something to watch again, maybe if you want to understand what's going wrong right now. Obviously, I mean, you can point to some of the injuries, especially like Erling Haaland. But I think in a way, what Haaland did early in the season before, for the first 8 matches or so, before he got injured, was that he compensated some of these. He almost masked some of the issues, because what you can do usually is like play these long through balls to him, and he's like able to get them through, to squeeze them through the backline basically. But that's also that's mostly down to his individual ability and to his skill set. But it's not like it's showing the structural superiority of Dortmund. It's more like, all right, we have this extremely talented striker who, as opposed to other world-class strikers like Lewandowski, might not be the best one with his back towards the opposing goal, but he's one of the best one with facing the opposing goal. So he's one of the best forward-moving strikers you ever see, or you can watch right now in world football. So of course you can use that and he's really fast, and he can outpace a lot of defenders, and that's all good and well. And why not? I mean, you have these guys. You have also other guys who are kind of very talented in acting as a second wave behind Haaland. But still, if you have structural issues, then maybe your main striker is out, then you can't really do anything, and you are helpless in a way. And I think that's going on because other teams, like really world-class teams, even Bayern, like, of course, I mean, if Lewandowski is injured, they have like really trouble. But still, they could overcome that. Maybe not against the best teams in Europe, but against a lot of teams, because their structure, their build-up structure is still very good, even without Lewandowski. And they can slot in someone else and, act as a Lewandowski light. But with Dortmund, I mean, first of all, who's the Erling Haaland light? No one is there. Like Julian Brandt, yeah, of course. Why not? Like, he's also blonde, so yeah, there you go. No, but that's not working. Also, first of all, and even if you have like a mini me of Erling Haaland, why not? I mean, there are some strikers out there, like basically like tier 2, tier 3 strikers who could act like that. But even then, like, it's not possible because, like, you have structural issues you have to overcome, and that's not something you can do just, playing Wednesdays and Saturdays. And I mean, there was time before the season, but didn't do that really well. They did do well, early on in the season, I think. Although you got the Augsburg match, and there was the sign that things would get weird again at some point. So yeah. I think that it's just something that will not be solved anytime soon. And yeah, I mean, who knows? But I think that like it will be a couple of hard weeks moving forward, and maybe they can score a couple of wins still. But you also don't have a winter break now because the last match is the cup match on 22nd. Then you got a couple of Christmas days where everyone gets fat. And then you are back on the 2nd of January, the next match day. Because of Corona, they had to tighten up the schedule in Germany, which is unusual for Germany, but they had to this year, or this season. So there's also no time to do any, like, let's say post Hinrunde analysis or something like that.
No
I don't expect any changes.
Or anything.
What?
No trips to warm Marbella to iron out the kinks.
No, not this time. I mean, also it wouldn't be possible probably because of Verona, but yeah. So kind of disillusional or disillusioned kind of assessment right now.
I want to actually stay on that topic a little bit because something that really annoys me to no end right now when I watch Dortmund play in the first half, especially, is that there are no forward runs really. And I have a question that you can maybe answer, maybe not, because it's very much in the details. But what do you think should or would normally trigger a forward run? Because like you said, Dortmund's build-up right now is very, very slow. And I think that's a very correct takeaway from the last couple of weeks, that Dortmund just take forever, be it the first phase of build-up or the second phase of build-up. And today at the news conference, Michael Zorc was asked about Julian Brandt's qualities, and I think Lucien Favre as well. And basically they said that, one of his qualities are through balls and passes, vertical balls. But then I realized, how is this guy ever to gain any form if there are no runs to play these kind of balls for? I mean, it's maybe simplifying things a little bit, but I do think that there's a problem that Dortmund are very stale and static, and you talk about structural issues, and obviously if your three attackers often just stand by their markers and not really move around and offer a run into the box or anywhere behind the line, I think that is making things even harder. So back to my question, Konstantin, because usually in football you have certain sequences where players start to take a run. Sometimes it's instinct, but sometimes it's also a scheme. Do you think that whatever is supposed to trigger a forward run by certain players into the box or whatever space, that the schemes for that just aren't happening often enough.
I just like there's like a kind of an issue is that you can also be like over eager in a way that like you make too many forward runs in a like a given in one sequence basically, you know.
It's true, but not the case.
Sorry.
I said that's true, but I don't think that's the case, unless
it's not the case. But like some teams are, and I know the hard thing for me to assess is like who's making the decisions basically, you know. Is it the coach? Are the players like independently doing that? I'm not entirely sure. I have noticed that some team members tend to be more of the like, all right, I drop back a little bit and I want to get the short pass, you know. Also the safer pass, basically, you know, the pass that where the possibility of turning over is very low.
Yeah, but that's when you have a mini Favre in your ear.
Maybe. I think it also comes down to some of the personalities or like player types. Like let's say Royce and Sancho and even Brandt. I mean, like these guys tend to be more of the, I drop back a few yards and I want to get the ball. I mean, especially Royce now, like when he plays as number 10 and things don't go well, like he drops back all the way, you know, couple of yards right next to Hummels or something like that.
Right behind Berkey.
So no, but sometimes he does that really. Like it's also like a kind of a I'm the captain, I have to lead the team now thing. But it's also more than that, you know. It's like Dortmund. They have, what I would say is they have a lot of like, let's say, passing playmakers, but they don't have the kind of the playmakers like Erling Haaland. There's not really a word for that, but Erling Haaland, like he understands playmaking in terms of I break through a defense, even if I'm not in possession of the ball right now. I'm trying to break through. And that's
usually one of Marco Reus's biggest qualities, though, or used to be at least.
But his quality is more like he picks the ball in a half space. You know, he turns around and then he breaks through.
That's true, right? But usually you bind another player, right? What your kind of playmaking is, I create this a situation by moving into a space, right? This is what you're trying to say. Your off the ball run creates triggers your opponent to behave in a certain way, and that creates space for yourself or others, etc. This is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I mean, like I think also one thing, and I getting back to what I said earlier, is that one of the main issues is, in my opinion, that like Dortmund are looking already not stable enough in the first phase of the build-up, and there's a kind of a weariness or a kind of nervousness about all, and like, you know, then from the first phase, stemming from the first phase all the way through like moving the ball across the field, which means like if you are already nervous and you're already like kind of like wary about what's gonna happen if like the high opponent is able to pressure you early on, like then there's kind of I think your reflexes tell you, all right, we have to play it safe, more safely maybe, and I think you see that at times because other teams, and I don't know, Bayern Munich, you know, let's just take the best team that there is. But they usually can achieve is like they can have a kind of where they can be calm the first phase of build up, but they also break the first line quite easily. Not always, but often. And that gives you some more breathing space. Like now you gain confidence. All right, we broke through the first line. All right, things are going well. So we left a couple of defenders behind us. All right, more space for us, more freedom. You know, we can move around, we can maneuver around better. And also we see that we have early success because beating the first 2-3 players and breaking through gives you also the kind of confidence that you can do it again with the next line. And I think like what Dortmund, and Dortmund is not even like a team that, there are teams like that have long spells of possession and they don't do anything with the possession, but with Dortmund it's more like they have like spells of possession, but they are all often enough like razor edge close to losing the ball. So there is like a mixture of things that's happening there, and I think that's really what and also I think kind of past experience also hurts them in a way, because like they have conceded so many transition attack goals. They have conceded so many goals that were like where they did defend badly. So that's also something that you have to factor in a way. So they aren't really confident in their ball and their possession skills. But on your end, they have a lot of possession, and I don't think there will be any changes about that. So unless they only in a few matches they will have less possession, like against Bayern and maybe against Gladbach or something, maybe. Interestingly enough, maybe last point is that like against Bayern Munich in the match, and it was a kind of a unique match, and it was special. And of course, Bayern is a different team, and they give you more. They offer you more at times, but they usually offer it and pull it away in the best moment or in the kind of right moment. But they offer you more, and like what Dortmund did, they were playing completely different. Completely differently in terms of like they had more long balls, more deep runs, kind of tried to attack one side with deep balls and deep runs, and it worked out well. Of course, different match, different style. Bayern have a high line, so you have much more space to get behind the line. So that's not something you can just copy and paste and use against Frankfurt or something. Still, you could see that Dortmund are able to have a different kind of match, but they don't really have like the kind of tools to set up that match, of course, because they have long spells of possession. So there's also something more of a strategic conundrum, and I don't think they will be able to solve that anytime soon as well.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's also not surprising that a very healthy amount of goals that Dortmund have scored this season actually resulted from their counter-pressing or from opponents making mistakes that they won possession in the final third and then hit them on a transition. Looking at the player types that Dortmund do have, that's not really surprising, but I obviously would hope that they create even more from open play and from their own possession without the opponent messing up in that way. I mean, obviously, counter-pressing is always nice, and if you can execute it well over 90 minutes, that's great. But Dortmund, while they press situationally, they don't really do that as threatening as other teams either, I would say. I don't know what your assessment is, but let's talk a little bit about the game against Stuttgart, which is a home match against Stuttgart, who are right now in 8th with 14 points, so they're 5 points off Dortmund. They have 3 wins, 5 draws, and 2 losses to their name. I think, if I remember correctly, you predicted them to finish actually quite high in the table, or was that me at the beginning of the season?
Me. I actually remember that like Lars was kind of surprised, or kind of snobbishly dismissing my pick. Mm-hmm.
I have not seen much of Stuttgart this season, but I hear great things, especially of Mr. Endo. So Konstantin, the biggest news going into this match and the biggest news for Dortmund and their chances to win is obviously that main man Gonzalo Castro is out with a suspension. But obviously, otherwise, Stuttgart are also carrying a couple injuries into this game. So Lucien Favre called them extremely threatening and extremely dangerous, very powerful in attack. So what can Dortmund expect, and what do the Black and Yellows have to brace for, considering their own sleeping pills in first halves?
What? Sleeping pills?
Yeah, Dortmund always go out there like they're on a bunch of sleeping pills and then only wake up later.
Well, I mean, at least they wake up at times. That's something. No, but like as you said, I rated Stuttgart highly before the season. I mean, you can like now we can have a long debate, like how good have they been over the past, I don't know, 8-9 weeks, and maybe some people think like that they haven't been that great, or that they were like because they are only they know that they are 8th, they are right there. I think among the teams that are doing better for themselves. I think you have like more or less a cutoff at like 10th or 11th. Also, we have to, by the way, now is the perfect time to look at the expected goals numbers. There's like a time window between match day 6 and match day 10, around that, where the expected goals numbers actually tell you a lot about the future performance of your team. We talked about that with David Sumter, the Soccermatics, Mr. Soccermatics, on our latest The Football Pod, by the way. Check it out on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and SoundCloud. Yeah, I'm just shamelessly playing
it's
stuff.
all right.
That's no, but I think they had a couple of draws. Stuttgart being they, now they won their last match. They lost against Bayern, but that's all right. I mean, whatever. So what I like about them is they are, let's say, they are unpredictable but also predictable. So they have kind of a unique attacking system with a back three that's very fluid, that's like moving around very fluidly. They have very high aggressive wing backs. I mean, Silas, for instance, is their right wing back right now. Koulibaly, who is also more of an attacking winger, was their left wing back in some matches. They're really like aggressive wing backs, not like the kind of like full backs that are just, a little bit higher up the pitch. No, they have like really like wingers playing wide. They are all, despite having a back three. So that's also something. What you really can see is that is like they understand to the extent of their abilities. They understand how to move the ball very quickly, very fluidly through the first phase of build-up, and that's also. They are possible because they have very agile center backs. Someone like Kemp, for instance. Waldemar Anton can play centrally, but he can also be one of the outside wing backs. So Pascal Stenzel, former Dortmund player, can also be one of the outside wing backs. So they're really agile and mobile. I should say mobile is more of the right word. And they understand how to move the ball quickly through the back line and then quickly into the half spaces, because you mentioned Castro, and especially Castro. Sometimes Didavi, if he's like fit and not injured, and he's like playing well, because he had like good couple of weeks and then not so much. But Castro, even Mangala or Koulibaly, like there are usually two attacking players who are really occupying the half spaces like with determination. They do it and they exactly find out where they can be to be outside the basically outside the center midfield, but still like at a point where when they receive the ball they can still go through the middle. And Castro has been quite good at doing that. So he usually plays on the left side, the left side of center midfielder in the left half space, and he has done things right beautifully when Stuttgart were in the second build-up phase, whatever you want to call it, and then you go from there. That like they go wide or they go just through the middle. Kalajdzic, their center forward, is your typical like large center forward playing a lot of layoff passes, hard to defend. He's not like prawn or something. He's like a lot of muscles on him. But he is very tall and like lengthy, and it's really hard to get around him if he protects the ball quite well, and he usually does that. So and then he plays these layoffs for someone like Mangala, also former Dortmund player, who then is dynamic enough to move to act as the second wave basically, and pick up some of these layoffs. Same for Castro, same for Koulibaly recently, or Klimovic or so. What maybe the last point I want to make is they have also a couple of injuries. What's interesting about Stuttgart is they don't really have like a lot of let's say automatic starting players. And Kalajdzic is one right now because Gonzalez is injured and like Kalajdzic is their only. I mean, Gonzalez also played on left side a lot, but Kalajdzic is their only like real center forward right now. So maybe Endo, of course, Silas, more, yeah, probably. But they move around a lot of pieces. You know, you have a lot of players who are on the same level. So the back line, for instance, you never know what's the lineup at the back. Can be like there can be like 5, 6, 7 different variations of a back three. Also in terms of personnel, because as I mentioned, like Anton can play centrally, but he can also play wide. Kempf same. So Kaminski the same. So you got all these different options, and that makes it harder for the opponent's coaches to figure out beforehand what they are trying to do and who will play where. Because that's also something you have to factor in account and when you do like your pre-match analysis. So that's also something that works really in favor of Stuttgart. And overall, they just play attractive football, more or less. I think, give or take. I think, but it's usually very, pretty attractive. That's also something I think a lot of fans right now, Bundesliga fans, neutral fans, like about the team. Because we have also Augsburg or something, or Mainz, and like they do quite the opposite.
Yeah, that's very true. There are not that many teams that are easy on the ice in the Bundesliga, but Stuttgart seems to be one of them. I haven't actually seen much of them, sadly, so far. So I can't really say much. But what I can obviously say is how many players are not fit for Dortmund, which is obviously Erling Haaland, who is in Qatar right now. We can talk about this in a second if you want. Meunier, Akanji are out, and Schmelzer obviously still recovering from the knee surgery he had. Doubtful are Rafael Guerreiro. Delaney has back problems. Dahoud is out with an illness, or actually doubtful as well. Morey, Hummels, Hazard all are nursing muscular problems. And it's not entirely sure whether they will play or not. So, I can't really give you much of a prediction who will play for Dortmund. It's probably going to be the partnership of Witsel and Bellingham in midfield, and then we could see a back three consisting of Can, Zagadou, and Piszczek. Now, if that's your back three and say your fullbacks are Schulz and Paslak, Konstantin, how do you see, and you've talked about the first phase of the build-up quite a lot, how do you see this Dortmund team to get any kind of build-up going in the way they usually want to play? And do you think that they can find success and scoring opportunities with this sort of framework for their attacking players?
I guess they can. I mean, I don't view Stuttgart as like the team that's unbeatable now. I hype them up a little bit.
Yes. So do you think that Can and Piszczek do behave in a way that they leave the line often? And do you think Zagadou or Can will be the anchor in this? How do you think this back three? I think we've seen a little bit in action against St. Petersburg, but how do you think they should behave against Stuttgart, and do you foresee that Paslak and Schulz garner any sort of creativity?
No, I think I actually like the Can Zagadou combination. I don't know really about if Hummel's really out. I'm not sure. It's hard for me. Like I wouldn't like let's say a center back pairing. Let's put it that way. I think Can and Zagadou can both work very well in a back three. Although I have to say I have to be a bit critical of Can as of late. I liked the first few weeks of the season where he was somewhat like quote unquote crazy with his progressive runs. But recently, I don't know someone texted me recently and asked is Can drunk or something? Because he was just, I don't know, he was just all over the place, physically and mentally apparently. But I think still they can have these progressive runs. Just the biggest issue is who gives them the security there. So, and I don't like them as a center back pairing. I mean, with what the kicker still reports that like Hummels will be playing. I hope so, but I'm not sure, of course. So if he's not playing, then I mean, you need Can in the middle and like Piszczek in there. So you have Piszczek, Can, Zagadou as a backline. All right. Congrats, that will be probably fun. Because even like Delaney was like one of the options for the back three, right, recently, but he was also out with back problems. So
yeah, right. He's doubtful, so he could make it doubtful, too, but who knows?
Who knows? But like, he hasn't played in a while, so it's also like, is it really the right match to bring him in? Yeah, I mean, I guess Can would be like the default option for the Hummels role then. But I'm not. As I said, like I have to be critical of Can because he has been all over the place in some of these matches. So there's also not a preset to players in the Hummels role, which is more of the I have to sit back a little bit and or oversee things more or less as the anchor of the defense. I don't know if like Can is able to do that right now. But I mean, he more or less is forced to do that unless you try something out with Witsel or something. But I'm not sure about that. So I guess, as I said, like I like the Zagadou Can pairing, but like these two playing in the back three. I like especially Zagadou with his advanced or his progressive runs, or if he does some of them. I think that's also something you can do against Stuttgart.
I think rather you must. Honestly, if you say they have such advancing fullbacks, if you have Schulz and Passlack staying back, and you pass to them and they get pressured, I don't think that Dortmund will have much of a chance, considering how prone they are to lose the ball in exactly that position. And you said it already a little bit, but I want to highlight again, when Dortmund lose the ball at their fullback position, their center backs are usually not well organized in a sense, in regard to where the opponent strikers usually run and play. So that spacing is sometimes a bit all over the place. And I haven't even mentioned yet that Dortmund's defensive midfielders or the double pivot sometimes also stands on one line, and it can get really awkward. So I really hope that Dortmund don't try to build from just the center back or the back line and then pass it to the fullback and lose it there. I'm more hoping that they have 1-2s or something like that with their fullbacks, and then rely more on the center back moving out of that back line to pass it forward. That's what I'm hoping much more Dortmund can do, and maybe find their attacking players in the half spaces that way. Because if I look at Schulz and Passlack, I don't trust them to make these progressive runs and passes right now. So I'm more looking at Can, Zagadou, and Piszczek to do that. So that's just my 2 cents here. But if I look at this game, this is how I want Dortmund to play it, and what the scheme A should be for the build-up method.
Totally. Yep. I guess. I mean, we're. But I think that it's like, if you look at the Frankfurt, for instance, Frankfurt had a couple of weak spots, and they didn't really capitalize on these weak spots. So, yeah. I'm more or less like hesitant to now make a judgment if Dortmund are able to do any of that. So
all right, fair enough. So
it's like, I mean, what like we can't hype Dortmund right now. Like they have let us down too often recently.
Yeah, no, I think the next 3 games against Stuttgart, Bremen, and Union Berlin will be rather problematic for Dortmund, just in the sense that their form has really dipped. And I just don't see it quickly recovering, especially with the barrage of injuries right now. So Erling Haaland is chilling away in Qatar right now. Konstantin, why do you think he is going there instead of letting himself treat by the Dortmund team doctors?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like we just discussed it before the show, right? I mean, that's like I read ahead, or I mean, I read a couple of things about it, but there are a couple of things we said before the show we shouldn't say now on the air.
Yeah, I think the German word is justiziabel, which is
yes. So Yeah, so what's basically going on? I mean, people, of course, the listeners to this show, the avid Dortmund fans, of course, know that he pulled a hamstring. So, but not in his thigh, but in his hip, basically. So, and now they flew him to Qatar to do the rehabilitation and stuff like there. I mean, there's like basically what they try to do is, or what they say is that that it was his wish to do it there, but they don't really say anything more about it.
Yeah,
you know
other
what I
than
mean?
that
Like,
he will adhere to hygiene protocols, read the COVID.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's like, yeah, of course, the usual blah blah, you know. But like it was here's the quote. I was just sorry, I was rambling a little bit because I was looking for the Michi Zorc quote here. It was his wish to do the rehabilitation there. He is surrounded by our experts. No, he's surrounded by experts who are in close exchange with our medical staff. That's why we fulfilled or we granted his wish, so Haaland's wish. So I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a little bit weird because like Haaland is like going to Zorc or going to Favre. All right, I want to do rehab in Qatar. I mean, if it would be like Norway or something, I would all right, get it, or maybe the UK where he grew up or something for whatever reason. Like, all right, he's going to Qatar. Why? Because of all the great stuff he can do there. What's going on? Yeah. So also Zorc said that we expect him to, what he said, obey hygiene rules, and also that he will be back here before Christmas. Also, I like how he said aufschlägt in German. It's not like arrive here. It's more like, all right, he. I know how do you translate aufschlägt, but it's kind of funny.
Yeah, I got nothing. So, yeah.
It's like, it's street language, basically.
Yeah, so we'll see how he romps back into town, I guess. But who should replace Haaland now up top? We've seen Marco Reus, we've seen Julian Brandt, we've seen Thorgan Hazard. And for one full half in Frankfurt, we've seen Moukoko. Out of the four, knowing that Hazard may or may not be injured, who knows? Who'd you pick against Stuttgart?
I mean, I would probably go with, of course, I mean, like a Reina, still Sancho, although, well, whatever. Or Reina, Sancho. I would actually try Reina, Sancho, Moukoko. There you go.
All right, it's a solid lineup. Why?
I mean, it's a solid lineup. I was like, just the Moukoko thing is. I mean, you know what would be going on if he's starting. So, but yeah, I mean, why not? I think he's still like Moukoko is still their best option up front. It's not Brandt. It's certainly not Royce. It's certainly not Sancho. And it's also not Reina. He's more available in a somewhat deeper role. So yeah, I would probably go with these three. And I mean, yeah, in a way, I mean, they didn't sign anyone as a Haaland backup in summer, and we all expected him to trust Moukoko. So there you go. Now is the time.
All right.
To trust him.
All right. So you're benching.
And also one last thing, maybe, because I did a couple, as I said, I did a couple of profiles on him, and I talked to a lot of people that coached him in the past. There were coaches who said like he has to be smart about where he moves on the pitch, that he isn't in these kind of physical battles with defenders, especially with like where you're strong defenders, because he will be pushed around otherwise. But I think like Stuttgart with like Anton or some, or maybe Kempf, they don't have like these highly physical or highly these rough defenders. So I believe that there's a good chance that he isn't pushed around. So there you go.
Okay. All right. So you're benching Royce, Hazard, and Brandt all together.
No. What? No. Royce, Sancho. Oh, no. Yeah, you're right. All right. Yeah. Yeah. Royce is out. I'm sorry about it.
It's all right. It's not like he has done
Back
too
to the
many
line.
things in recent games where you would say we absolutely need Marco Reus. As sad as it is, I think Favre or was it Zorg? Either one of them said that he's still sort of trying to get back into form after his long-term injury. And we can. I think we can see that. Julian Brandt's also a bit of an enigma right now, and Hazard is always someone who can play, but obviously, if he's injured or on the verge of an injury, maybe also just bench him because of that. And Sancho and Reina don't have that many minutes that they need to recuperate a lot right now. So that could be a go for me as well. So that should be or could be maybe a lineup. And I think both Reina and Sancho are also a little bit on the upswing when it comes to form. So I would like them to approve that and reaffirm that a little bit if possible.
Yeah.
So anything else we need to say about this game, or shall we end it here and you can plug your podcast one more time?
No, there's nothing else to say.
All right, then thank you very much, Konstantin. Who scored? I think predicted a 2-1 Stuttgart win. What's your pick for this game?
More like a 2-run Dortmund. Let's stay positive here.
All right. Yeah, since I already committed to a Dortmund win, hence I will also say 2-1 Dortmund because Gonzalo Castro is out. And I think Stuttgart have scored in every of their 10 games this season, so it's hard to predict them not scoring against Dortmund. So I'll stick with the 2-1 housewife tip as well. So yeah, as always, thank you very much for coming on and shedding a bit more light behind the curtain. So please tell our listeners where to find you and your new podcast with Abel Messeros.
Yeah, they can find me on Twitter at cc_ECKNER. As always, also they can find almost all the stuff I do. The German listeners can, of course, check out my YouTube channel, youtube.com/Konstantin Eckner. And, of course, check out our new podcast, The Football Pod. Recently, we released an episode with David Sumter, the mathematician, football consultant, statistical expert. So the Football Pod is available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, SoundCloud, also on Patreon and on YouTube, by the way. If you want to donate to the Yellowwallpod, please send these messages to me. My DMs are always open to you. Thank you.
All right, yeah. So otherwise, you can direct everything at Stefan Butzko on Twitter, and obviously
don't do that.
At Yellowwallpod is our Twitter handle and Facebook handle. And if you want to read our written content, go to theyellowwall.net. If you want to contribute financially, go to patreon.com/theyellowwall. And if you want to subscribe to the show in all the various means and forms, you can do that also via YouTube, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts, etc. So, Konstantin, once again, thank you for coming on and spending a half hour talking the old Borussia, and everyone else out there, stay safe and thank you for listening. Goodbye.